So today we are going to look at the next thing in endgames, which is first is basic mates. Okay, so mating with no, scholars mate is a opening thing. Okay, it is not in the end games. So end games is different. But yes, you will. I'm sure in the when you are playing with new people, beginners, etc., you can use scholars mate. But later on, you will not be able to use it because everybody knows how to counter it. So, by the way, who has logged in as Sampreet? I think is it Saharsh or someone, or who is it? I
No,
don't.
it's me only, sir.
Who is that?
Saharsh,
Saharsh. Okay, okay, okay.
same thing happened again, sir.
All right. So now, how many of you know that?
Sorry, sir. I was late because I had to watch that video.
Okay, okay, that is fine, no problem. Now, how many of you know that you can checkmate just with two bishops, nothing else, just two bishops, like what you see here in this position here? You can checkmate the opponent's king with just two bishops. Do you know this? Okay, Anup knows it. I've seen checkmate. Okay, Sadhna has seen it, the video probably. Okay, sir says yes. Okay, can you do this checkmate? It is a simple technique. It is once you know it, it is very simple, but you have to just do it, and it is there in the handout. So let us start with that. Okay, so let us start with how to checkmate with the two bishops. Okay, so can anybody? You can type, huh? So don't try to say it because it may be noisy. So try to type your moves. So how we should start with this? Obviously, two bishops mean they'll be of different color. So how we should start? Bishop f3. F3 bishop cannot go right now in this position. G3 it can go to, but
No, the white bishop.
yeah, the white bishop. H3 it can go to, but no, actually the right.
So,
Yeah.
white bishop to H3.
Okay. No, I think so. What you have to understand is the bishops, right? How do they control the diagonals? This way and this way, and not this way and this way, right? So because they have two bishops of different colors together, you can press the king hard, because once you align the bishops properly, you will be able to squeeze the king to the edge of the board. How to do it? Let us see it. Okay, don't try to give the checks in the beginning. Okay, because checks you should give it only in the late.
I know how to do it.
Sir, first I think we have to keep the black squared bishop to
Yeah, yeah, we'll
G3.
The Yeah. white bishop has to come
G3.
to
Yeah, G3 is
H3 and then the
no, no, no.
king
Wait,
will
wait,
go
no,
to
wait, wait,
G2.
wait,
It
wait.
should go to G2. F6
Please,
and
I'm
the
going to mute all of you
bishop
because you are
will
talking. Keep on.
come and uh,
Okay, I have muted all, and now you will not be able to talk. You can type. Okay, and don't give lengthy sentences, etc. Just give a thing. So I'll tell you, Bishop H3 is not the right way to proceed. Bishop G3 is also too much thing. So don't, because then the king will come to. What will happen is Bishop G3 and king. If it comes here, then again you will not be able to. Yeah, you can play like this, but you will have to defend the bishop again. He will go. So it is better, I'll show you how to see this, is that keep slowly squeezing. Okay, so now what has happened is that now you see, now these two diagonals are closed, so if the king will not be able to cross these two diagonals now. Okay, so let him play whatever. If he plays this, that's fine. He wants to come here. Now you do this. Now you see how we are squeezing. Now these two diagonals are gone. Now the king will not be able to cross this. Plus he will not be able to come near the bishops also. So wherever he goes, let us say if he goes to the edge, it is becomes easier for you to checkmate. But let us say if he wants to stay in the center, fine. Then you come up with the king. Now where he cannot go here, he cannot go here, he cannot go here. So you will have to, let us say if he goes here. Okay, if he goes here, now what you do is use the scissor like movement of the bishops. So this is the one, right? So now you move this bishop here. Now see, you have closed him further. Now it is not this, this is, sorry, wrong. And so ayo, what is happening? So fine, let us see you put the bishop here, then if the king, even if the king moves here, now you move this bishop in here. So can you see how it has, now we have squeezed him to this area now, right? Much smaller area now. So now let the king go wherever he wants to go. If he goes something like this, then you know you have to squeeze like this, right? So now king cannot go to this area. So he will have to go here or he will have to go back. If he goes back, then fine. Actually, you can even squeeze like this, right? Can you see how much board is now not available for the king at all? Now he is only confined to that one corner, right? Now let us say he will come up again. If he comes up again, fine, you bring your king up. If he goes back, okay, then also you can afford to bring your king, because see this thing is still occupied. So now if he goes here, finally you have to press him hard. He will not want to go to the edge of the board. But if he goes to the edge of the board, it is easy. But we'll see. He will try not to go to the edge of the board. Okay. If he does this, then you know what you have to do. Not this. Okay. Sorry. Not this. Because the king, if you come here, then the king will come to h6 and then you'll have to defend the bishop. Instead, when you do this, the time what you do is you simply move this here, bishop. Okay, so now where the king will go, he will have to go here. If he goes here, now you squeeze him further. Okay, if he comes here, now you do this. Okay, so where now he is forced to go to the edge of the board. Let us say if he goes here. Okay, if he goes here, now you know that he cannot come here, he cannot come here, he can come here. So instead what you do is you bring up your king. Now he has to go here. Now there are only really two squares for the king, right? So what do you do? So you should not stalemate the king. Okay, so what you have to do is right now pack it up, pack it up further. You have to, sometimes you will have to be careful here. Bishop h6, fine. Bishop h6, king h8. Now you have to give him some square. If you go to bishop f7 or king f7, then it's a stalemate, right? So you have to give him some space to move. So give him some space to move the bishop to. Now let the king will has to come here. Now he cannot go here, he cannot go here. So you bring him in here, right? Now king to h8. Now it is simple. Two moves made. Yeah, bishop to g7 and king to g8, and now bishop to f7 is checkmate now, right? So there are, I mean, exact little bit of moves here and there, it's okay, but you got the idea how to use the two bishops to together block the king, right? Both directions, and then keep squeezing it. Don't let them attack your bishop. So stay slightly away from the black king so that he's not able to come closer to you. And then use your king to support your bishops and keep moving ahead and squeeze the king, right? So again, you can watch the video if you have not watched it. It is there explained, and the handout very deeply explains it. So read the handout. So now you should always be able to checkmate whenever there are two bishops, and doesn't matter. These moves are enough. See, we have done it in 18 moves, right? So you get 50 moves, right? If the all of black's pawns are lost, then you get 50 moves within which to checkmate. So you can very easily do it in under 20 moves. You can do it from any position actually. Okay. So try to practice it from different positions so that you will get a hang of it. All right. Okay, so now we will, any doubts in this bishop checkmate? It is actually because the bishops, two different colors, two different bishops are there. So it becomes much easier, right? So it is, once you know how to use it, it is easier. Fine. All right, so let us go to the next thing in end games. Okay, so now we are going to look at some more basic, very commonly occurring end games. This end game, king and pawn versus king, it happens many times because if both players are playing really good and they are not getting they're not giving up like a piece or thing for free, maybe sometimes it will happen that one side has got more pawns, that side has to so it may happen that one side has got more pawns and finally all the pawns get exchanged, which happens, and then one side may be having one extra pawn. Okay, now there are various positions, so I'm showing the simplest one first. So you should know first of all when you can draw this thing and when you are winning this. So if you are, say, I mean, in this position, black doesn't have any pawn, so best that he can hope for is draw. Otherwise, it is a loss for him, right? Now, normally black king will come in front of the pawn, will not allow it to queen, right? You have seen that opposition concept. We'll see that. Now, how do you, first of all, the first thing to know is whether black can even prevent the pawn from queening or not. Okay. Sometimes the king, black king is such a far away from the pawn that he will not be able to prevent. But how do you know exactly whether it is? So for that, there is something called as the rule of the square. Okay. So you take the pawn and you draw a square mentally. So I have highlighted here, right? This square is highlighted, right? It is from the pawn all the way to the queening square and diagonally to the queen, diagonally to the edge of the board, and whatever that square gets formed, okay, that if the black king can enter the square, that means it can stop the pawn. Okay, stop the pawn means not like if white king also comes, but at least by itself, if you want to run the pawn, if black king can enter that square, then it can stop the pawn, and you will require the presence of the white king to then force it and to defend it to become a queen. Otherwise, black king cannot stop the pawn. Okay, so this is the simplest thing that first you have to remember. So we'll see some positions. So we'll take a new position, clear the board. I will give some position here. Okay. So I will give it as black to move first. Okay. Okay. Tell me whether black can stop this or not. So in this position, okay, somebody is saying no, somebody is saying yes. Two of you are saying yes. Rutvij is saying no. Bice, there is no bice. Oh, yes, you meant. Okay. Fine. Okay. So here it, because it is black to play, Rutvij, it can stop it because you draw the square in your mind, starting from here, 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 and here, right? So this is the square. Now it is black to play. Obviously, it will be able to move in the square. So if black will play this, and then it can stop the pawn. Let us see how if you go, right? You saw pawn has come here, black has come here, so the pawn will not be able to queen, right? That was because it was black to play. Yeah, you're right. I think you missed it, I think, because I put it as a position as, now if the same position, if I put it as white to play, okay, now white to play will play the pawn here. Now the square is much shorter, it is this much, right? Now black to play also is not able to enter the square, right? So now you will not be able to stop it. So in this case, you can simply run the pawn down without being afraid of anything. No matter yeah, the king is, so you don't even need to bring your king closer, okay, and waste moves. You know that you will be able to queen the pawn, right? So how to find this out very quickly while playing is this rule of the square, because mentally you can form the square in the mind and then find out, but this is possible only when there is nothing else. Okay, if there are other pieces on the board, etc., then obviously they can come in between, etc. So you have to know this is to be applied when only there is a single pawn left, but then very quickly, or sometimes before that comes, you know that you are going to exchange the pawns and finally only one is going to remain, then you can check quickly in mentally where is that pawn and where is the opponent's king, where is my king. So if you know, if you find that, oh, after all the exchanges you have extra pawn and the black king cannot enter the square, then you know that you have won the game actually, because pawn will become a queen, and after that you know how to checkmate with a queen, right? So that is what is the rule of the square. Okay. All right. Any questions? Any doubts about this one? So always remember, this is a very simple but very effective way. The rule of the square. Okay. Fine. Then we will go to the next one. Next one is how to queen the pawn when your king is ahead almost and the pawn is ahead. So let us set up the position. Clear board. What happens when your pawn reaches the sixth? Sorry. Okay, I'll put the black king here. Black king cannot be put here. So this is wrong actually. So okay, black king. Let us put it here. What if, okay, so tell me if it is, so this is called as a zugzwang position, okay? Why we'll see it. If this is white to play now, okay, tell me it is a draw or a win? It's a win. Okay, how it's a win? Tell me. Okay, Vedant also thinks, Chaitanya also thinks it's a win. Okay, type the move what white should play first. E7. Okay, E7 you play first. Then king will go to E8. Now king to E6 is a stalemate. King to E6 is a stalemate. Right? So it's a stalemate. So is there any other move that you can make white? If he doesn't come to E6, then the pawn will get killed. Okay. So that means it's a draw if white to play. Okay. Is there any, instead of E7, do you want to play anything else? King to E5. King comes back. Okay. Archit is saying king to E5. Then black king very happily comes up and drops the pawn. No, Aiden, no, I'm not going to unmute anybody. You have to type. You have to type your this ones because it gets noisy. So I've decided to this one. So please type your message or chat. Okay. So yeah. So now what? Now it becomes a draw. Again, how you can, whatever you do. If you come here, you know what is the technique for drawing. You should know the technique. Eden is right. If king goes to E8, then it's a draw. Okay, if king goes to F8, then it's not a draw. Oh, Anup knows bishop and knight mate, which is a very advanced concept. In level 3, I teach it. So that's fine if you know it. But if king comes up, then this is called as opposition. See, remember these kings when they are opposite to each other, then none of the king can advance. This king can also not advance because that king is blocking, and that king can also not advance. So this is called as in the opposition position. So now again we are come to a variation of the starting position, and it's going to be a draw now, because what if pawn is pushed, then king will come in front of the pawn, and then you will have to come here and give a stalemate, right? Not this. So if you don't push the pawn, then again you have not made progress. You have brought back your king, right? Now what I was telling is important to know when white king went this side. If by mistake black goes to f8, then it's a loss. Then immediately black loses the game. Can you see how? Can you see now it's a loss? See, that's why it is such a delicate game. Okay, one move small here and there. F6. Yeah, king to f6. Now white has got the opposition. Okay, earlier it was black, you got it. Now white got the opposition. So black is forced to give up. So black is cannot hold the opposition. So black has to make a move. Obviously, it will not want to go to g8, right? Because the pawn will queen. So he will come to e8. But now e7 now. e7 now. It's different now. You see, the pawn is going to 7th square without giving a check. Then it is a win. If it gives a check, then king will come in front of the pawn, and then it's a draw. So now black king has got only one move here. Now king to f7. Very simple. Now no matter what you do with the help of the king, now the pawn is queen. Right? So this you should know it exactly. Okay, you should know this ending exactly. So we are going to the starting position. If the pawn advances with a check when it is on the 6th rank, okay, so when it goes to 7th, from 6th to 7th with a check, then it's a in king and pawn endings. Okay, not in other pieces are on the board, then something else will happen. But if only when two kings are there, one extra pawn, it is going to the 7th rank with a check, then it's a draw. Okay, then it's a draw. So to prevent it, you should not be in a position where the pawn has to move out with a check, because if this happens, then there is nothing you can do. As long as black plays properly here, black will always get a draw. Okay, so you have to make sure that this does not happen. But that's how, I mean, that is the next thing that you will learn. But pawn to d7, no, Eden, pawn is on e file, so it cannot go to d7. Okay, so now if the and obviously if you put the same position, but if it is black to play, then it's a win for white. If this is the play, now black has to play, right? He's losing the opposition. He cannot maintain the opposition. If he goes here, then again you push the pawn, king will come up here, you come here, and then you queen the pawn, right? What else can win? If he goes here, then it is very simple. Then anyway pawn comes up forward. Now king cannot come back here, he cannot come here. Now wherever the black king goes, next move, the pawn will queen, right? So losing the opposition means losing the game actually. Okay, in this thing, that's why it is very important, and you have to understand it. So if you have watched the two videos and studied the handout, then you will know this. Okay, so this is the second important position that you have to know, because after that, then you will have to see when the pawn is behind itself, how you have to play so that you don't get into this position. Okay, it's not always, if black has got a good king position, then he will be able to draw it. Okay. Okay, any questions so far before we go to the third position on the handout? Yeah, this the third position again, you should just know it so that you, what happens in case of a double pawns. Okay, so we'll see it. So let us look at it, and so we'll create a new position, clear the board. See, sometimes the double pawns are useless in the sense that you have to sacrifice one, then only you can win it. Okay. Okay. So, and we will say it is white to move. Okay, fine. See, white has got two pawns, but unfortunately they are doubled, so they are not worth thing. What is worth what is a draw, Aidan? I think I showed it, right? The previous one. I hope you got it. Stalemate and all. You got it. White becomes a draw. Anyway, the recording will be available. You can again check it back. I will not go back right now. Okay, so here it is white's turn to move. How does white win this? White to play. Okay, if you play b5, then you cannot win it, because black king will go to b7.
C6.
We'll see it. Now what will you do? Whatever you do now, you will lose the pawn on b6. Right? Because wherever white move, the pawns, both of the pawns cannot move. King only has to move. He cannot maintain contact with the b6 pawn. So he will have to come up something like this or whatever. Something like this. And then black will take it, and it's a draw after this. Right? So, okay, let us look at king to c6. King to c6 is a stalemate. Black, it's an all instant stalemate. It's a draw. So how to win this?
C4.
King to c4. King to c4, then black immediately takes the pawn, and then it's a draw. Yeah, correct. So Vedant is saying is right. In this position, what white can do is sacrifice the pawn, let black take it, but you take the opposition after that. See, now you have taken the opposition and you are one square in front of the pawn. So now, whichever side black goes, let us say if he goes here, then you go to the other side and advance. Okay. So now you have made progress. Now, see, black king will try to go back, because if it comes up, then it will not be able to defend. So it will try to go back. Now here it is a crucial step what you will play. In this position, it is actually simple. You will be able to simply advance the pawn. Correct. Advance the pawn. Now, if black king, even if he goes to the corner trying to get a stalemate, he will not be able to get a stalemate. You can, because you can play b6. He will come up. Now we play b7. Now king cannot go hide in the corner, so he will have to come up. The moment you come up, you come here, and now it's going to be a queen, and obviously you are going to win it, right? But the crucial point was in this position is that you had to sacrifice a pawn at the right spot, not anywhere. See, if you moved, there were other sacrifices that you did by moving the thing here, but here if you sacrifice, then it's no use because it's a draw. How it's a draw? That is the next thing that you have to see. Can you see why it is always a draw? I think we'll see that and then we'll end it. Okay. So these, in fact, this is the next position we'll see almost. So in the suppose if this position comes, see black has already taken it. Now we'll let us study this position. If this black takes it now can you win the pawn? Can you win with the pawn? At least how you will try it. It's white to play now. White still has got one extra pawn. See, white has got no other option other than to advance the pawn here, right? Now black, again, it's a very, very crucial it is. Now, can you tell what should black play here? Remember opposition. That is the one which always saves you.
B7.
King to b7 is the right move. King to a5, no. King to a5 is a loss. See what happens with king to a5 is white king comes up. Now, in fact, you cannot even go back in front of the pawn. You have to put your king and it cannot go to a6. So you come up here. Now the pawn is simply going to run. Your king cannot even catch it. Right? So king to a5 is not at all possible. So remember, black should try to maintain the opposition, for which it has to need a reserve move. So it has to go to b7. Okay. So this I will make it as the promote variation. Because if the black king goes to f c7 new variation, then white king gets the opposition, and then white will be able to force the queening of the pawn. So instead black wants to make one reserve move, so it simply takes, just falls one square behind the pawn. Now if white comes here, now what should be black's move?
C7.
Correct. King to c7 is the right move now. Because he will be able to now he has got the opposition. So what white now cannot force it. So white will end up pushing the pawn. Pushing the pawn, then black will go in front of the pawn. Now if white goes behind the pawn, black, remember opposition.
B8.
B8 is the right move. Not C8, not A8. Okay, B8. Now if you play b8, let us say white king comes here, then black king
A8.
a8 is the right move. Opposition. Force white. If he moves the pawn forward, then it's a stalemate after this. Because this is the Eden. Look at this position now. You had some doubt on the thing. So see in such a position, black got the opposition. White, if he white pushes the pawn, then it's a draw. Eden, check it. After that, what will white do? No matter what white does, either the pawn falls or it's a stalemate. Right? King has got only three possible moves. Two of them are coming to a5 or b5, will lose the pawn. If king goes to b6, then it's a stalemate. So you cannot push the pawn. And what if you don't push the pawn, then what happens? Then white king only has to make a move, either of them, or a5 or b5. Doesn't matter where he puts it, black king will come to b7 in front of the pawn. Right? So this is this is how the pawns happen. Okay. So I think we have covered it pretty much. So I think there is one more section of this. So we'll continue. So there is the concept of outside pawns. Yeah, if the pawn is lost, then it's a draw by lack of material. If you remember the 6 ways to draw, there is one draw is for lack of material, because if there is only two kings are left, then it's a draw because no one of them will be able to checkmate. Similarly, if the one king is there and the other has got a king and a knight, then it's a draw because you cannot checkmate. If the other side has got a king and a bishop and the other opponent has got only a king, then also it's a draw. Yeah, it's not a stalemate, it's a draw. But stalemate also results in a draw. That's what. So, okay, fine. So please study the handout because these next concepts are important. So we are going to see it next week. Outside pawns and yeah. Uh, and then there is one more. This. Okay. All right. So I think that is it pretty much. So we will end the class here. If you have any doubt in this, please say right now. Otherwise, we are going to close the session now. Okay. Fine. I think you got it. So no problem. Okay, good. Then enjoy your study of the. I mean, if anybody has still not watched those videos, please watch it because these end games are extremely important because it makes a lot of difference as you saw between a win and a draw or a draw and a loss, right? So very important to know. Very important to know and hone in the concept of opposition and stalemates, right? In case of pawn. So remember, it should never advance. I mean, try not to advance the pawn to the 7th rank with a check. If you advance it with a check in king and pawn endings, then it is going to become a stalemate, right? Okay. So good. Thanks. And we are closing. I am ending the call now. So let us meet next week. All right. Bye bye. Let me stop the recording first.